कस्तूरी तिलकं ललाट पटले वक्षस्थले कौस्तुभम् नासाग्रे वरमौक्तिकं करतले वेणुकरे कङ्कणम् सर्वांगे हरिचन्दनं सुललितं कंठे च मुक्तावली गोपास्त्री परिवेष्टितो विजयते गोपाल चूड़ामणि वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंस चाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. Reading from Srimad Bhagwat Mahapuran, we have concluded the 8th canto and we are to begin 9th canto today. So this display shows the last few chapters of the 8th canto. In the next session, we will add the chapters of the 9th canto. In the 8th canto, the last chapter was about Matsya Avatar, Bhagwan ke Matsya Avatar ki Katha. If you see all the chapters, Devasur Sangram, the battle between the demoniac and the divine celestial gods, the end of the battle, Mohini's avatar to take the ownership of the Amrit Kalash, the pot of nectar, and to distribute them to the right recipients. The descriptions of the next 7 Manvantars, what happens in Manvantar, how the roles are distributed to different personalities in the Manvantar. And then we began the story of King Bali, who is in the lineage of Prahlad Maharaj, and how Bali Maharaj has become the conqueror and he has subdued the Devatas who were ruling the Swarglok. And this is very painful to Mother Aditi, mother of Indra. So she does Payobrat as per the advice of her husband Kashyap ji. Then the Lord appears and gives the benediction to the mother Aditi. And at the right time, Vaman Bhagwan, the Lord in the dwarf form, appears in the Mahayagna of Yagyashala of King Bali. Then the amazing episode of King Bali asking for land equivalent to 3 steps of his, Shukracharya's intervention, knowing that the Lord is here to trick Bali Maharaj and conquer everything from him. However, Bali Maharaj yields to the situation. King Vaman usurps the entire Trilok. Bali is bound by the Pash and then he is released. Bali does a stuti of Bhagwan, glorifications, and he receives Bhagwat Kripa. He gets released and then proceeds to Sutal Lok, which is very opulent. And the Lord, as if to give him the reward for all this, he becomes the protector and the gatekeeper in Sutal Lok. And then comes the most fascinating story of Matsya Avatar, where the Lord has incarnated as fish. This happened in the last stage of the previous kalp. So let us look at the time span. We are talking about 100 years of Lord Brahma. So when the universe is created, there is nothing, and from nothing the universe gets created. And how big is the universe? It is 50 crore yojan. 50 crore yojan means 50 into 8, 400 crore miles. Right. And if you correct 400 crore miles, that means 4 billion miles. So it is not about thousands or millions, it is in billions. So 4 billion miles is the diameter of this universe. And within the universe, we read about Bhulok. And within the Bhulok, we read about 7 Dweep, of which the central Dweep is Jambu Dweep, of which we are a part in the Bharat Varsh. Bharat Varsh is one of the 9 Varsh in Jambudvip. In the center of Jambudvip is Sumeru Parvat, which is 100,000 yojan tall. On the top of Sumeru Parvat is one residence of Brahmaji. And then we go into the Bhuvar Lok, then Swarga Lok, then Mahalok, then Tapalok, then Janalok, then Brahmalok. And if you go into the 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 lower planetary system, there is Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Patal, Rasatal, Mahatal, etc. Below that is 28 or 29 types of Narkalok, hellish planets. If you go on to the sides, you have all these 7 Dweep, Kronch Dweep, Pushkar Dweep, Shalmali Dweep, Shak Dweep, etc. And separated by the oceans, ocean of salted water, ocean of sweet water, ocean of milk, that is the Kshir Sagar in which Garbhodakshai Vishnu resides. And then between the Bhuvar Lok and Swarga Lok, there are all these different objects, the celestial objects like sun god, moon god, nakshatras, 27 different nakshatras, pole star, saptrishis, and all the planets, Jupiter, Venus, etc. They are all rotating. The sun is also rotating, the moon is also rotating, but Earth, about which the science says it is rotating is, as per Bhagwat Mahapuran, stationary. Because Bhulok is stationary, Earth is a part of Jambudvip, Bharatvarsh, so that is also stationary. You go beyond the 7 Dvipas, you have Lokalok Parvat. And on top of one of these, you have Mansotar mountain on which the sun is moving on the chariot driven by 7 horses. This chariot has only one wheel and it has 2 directions. It is moving up and down, Uttarayan and Dakshinayan, and it is also rotating. Then, how is the rope connected to the chariot? It is the rope made from the air. It is called Pravaha. One end of the rope is connected to the base of Sumeru Parvat, and the other rope is connected to the top of poles on the pole star. These 2 ropes are, resulting into the motion of the planet, the chariot driven by the charioteer Arun, and in which the Lord Vivaswan Surya Dev is seated, and 86,000 or 68,000, I forget the number, Valkhilya Rishis, they are praying to sun god. Apsaras, Gandharvas, and Kinnars and other species, those personnel are glorifying the sun god. That is a spiritual description of the universe. The material description in the books of science are still very, very basic, and it does not answer many questions. That is what we have read in the chapters of Bhagwat Mahapuran so far. We have completed eight chapters, 8 cantos, and now we will begin 9th canto. After that, we will have 10th canto, 11th canto, and 12th canto. And then just give me 1 second. And then there will be the conclusion. So 10th canto, 11th canto and 12th canto. Now we shall begin the session with a bhajan. This time we have selected a bhajan considering that we are celebrating Holi in this week. So there are many bhajans penned by Jagat Guru Sri Kripaluji Maharaj. Most melodious, most touching, most transcendental, most humorous at times. So let us sing this bhajan and then we will read the text. Finally, we will have some interactive session. So, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, होरी रे होरी बर जोरी रे रसिया, होरी की होरी बर जोरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया. Okay, let us first read the translation and then we will sing the bhajan. It is Holi, the festival of colors in Braj. It is something more like high-handedness than simply holy. Who will hold the golden water gun, Pichkari, and who will have powder colors? The Abir and Gulal and the colorful water. Krishna will hold the golden water gun and Radharani will hold the powder colors. Which village does Krishna come from and which village does Radha belong to? Krishna hails from Nandagaon and Radharani is from Barsana. So absolute delightful bhajan. Let us see the next slide where we will read the other texts. Krishna hails from Nandagaon and Radharani is from Barsana. All the gopis came out of their houses. So much of red powder is thrown around that even the clouds have become red and all the lands of Braj have become red. So when the Lord incarnates, he does all different leelas, and that becomes a historical happening, historical acts which will delight the devotees in the future. That is the purpose of Lord's avatar. Because in Bhagwat Gita he says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma sanstapna arthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. He says, I come to this material world to destroy the demoniac and to protect the righteous. That is the purpose of my avatar. But here Lord has hidden one aspect, which is the real reason that scholars tell us that the real purpose of the Lord is to perform many leelas. In killing the demoniac is one, but delighting the devotees with Makhan Chor leela, with Krishna Sudama leela, with gopis playing pranks, stealing the garments, Ukhal Leela, where the mother Yashoda is trying to tie him up with a rope. All these Leelas he performs, which become such delightful episodes for the future generations. So that is the purpose. So let us sing this bhajan. Aaj biraj mein hori re rasiya, aaj biraj mein hori re rasiya. कौन के हाथ कनक पिचकारी, कौन के हाथ कनक पिचकारी, कौन के हाथ में, कौन के हाथ में रोरी रे रसिया, कौन के हाथ में रोरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, कृष्ण के हाथ कनक पिचकारी, कृष्ण के हाथ, कृष्ण के हाथ कनक पिचकारी, राधा के हाथ में रोरी रे रसिया, राधा के हाथ में रोरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया। कौन गाम के कुंवर कन्हाई, कौन गाम के कुंवर कन्हाई, कौन गाम की गोरी रे रसिया, कौन गाम की गोरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया। नंद ग्राम के कुंवर कन्हाई, नंद गाम के कुंवर कन्हाई, बरसाने की राधा गोरी रे रसिया, बरसाने की राधा गोरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया। होरी है होरी बर जोरी रे रसिया, होरी है होरी बर जोरी है रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया। नंद गाम के कुंवर कन्हाई, नंद गाम के कुंवर कन्हाई, बरसाने की राधा गोरी रे रसिया, अपने अपने घर से निकसी, अपने अपने घर से निकरी, अपने अपने घर से निकसी, कोई सांवरी कोई गोरी रे रसिया, कोई सांवरी कोई गोरी रे रसिया, अपने अपने घर से निकली, कोई मोटी कोई पतली रे रसिया, कोई पतली कोई मोटी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होली रे रसिया। उरत गुलाल भा उरत गुलाल लाल भय बादर, उरत गुलाल लाल भय बादर, लाल लाल ब्रज छोरी रे रसिया, लाल लाल ब्रज छोड़ी रे रसिया, लाल लाल ब्रज छोरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, आज बीरज में होरी रे रसिया, होरी रे रसिया। बोलिए श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की जय, श्रीमद युगल सरकार की जय। जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे। Our koti koti pranam to the lotus feet of Sri Hari and Sri Guru. Our koti koti pranam to Swami Mukundanandji. My humble pranam to each one of you. And now we shall read the text. Chapter 1, Vaivaswan Dynasty. Paying obeisances to Sukdev Maharaj, Sutdevji tells Shaunak Rishi and others. King Parikshit, after hearing the glorious Matsya avatar, requests Sukdevji. After hearing the glories of Sri Hari in the first 6 Manvantars, the Lord's Matsya avatar, we all humbly request you, O holy sage, to narrate the lineage of the current Manu. Shraddha Dev. We are also curious to know about all the deeds of the past, present, and future rulers king in his dynasty. Paramhans Sukhdev ji, who was well versed in the highest religion of mankind, Bhakti, spoke. Hear now, O king, the Vansh lineage of Vaivashva Vaivasvat Manu in brief, as it cannot be exhausted even if spoken for 100 years. During the Pralaya dissolution, Lord Narayan alone existed, representing the universe. From the Lord's navel, a stem with a lotus sprang up on which the four-faced Lord Brahma then manifested. Marichi was born from Brahma's mind. Marichi's son Rishi Kashyap married Aditi and had Vivaswan as their son. Vivaswan then married Sangya and had Shraddha Dev as his son, who also is the present Manu. Shraddha Dev married Shraddha. Desirous of a son, Manu requested the Kulguru, sage Vasisth, to perform a yajna. Accordingly, the sage conducted a yajna for Mitra Dev and Varun Dev. During the yajnas, Manu's wife, subsisting on milk only, requested one priest conducting the yajna to offer the oblations mantras in such a way that a daughter is born to her. So this is a very informative slide. Here we are linking the story to the end of the first Kalp, where Matsya Avatar took place. And there we learned the king who received the fish from the ocean, the Matsya, he was Satyavrat king in the Dravid Desh, right? So he is the one who was blessed to become the Manu in this Kalp, the current Kalp. So in Brahma's life of 100 years, we talked about the structure of the universe. Then Brahmaji is the first created personality, and then the 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 universe expands. First from Brahmaji's the meditation, the Manas Putras, the mind-born sons are born, Marichi, Atri, Kashyap, Vashisht, etc. And then Prajapatis are born and different personalities are born, and that's how the creation expands. So Brahmaji is the first personality. So that is the first day of the first year. That is called the first Kalp of the first year. But Brahmaji is living for 100 years. So in 100 years, 50 years have passed. Now we are in the 51st year, and this is the first day of the 51st year. The first day of the 51st year will have 14 Manvantars, and 6 Manvantars are over. Now we are in the 7th Manvantar. In each Manvantar, there will be 71 Chaturyugis. So 27 Chaturyugis are over. Now we are in the 28th Chaturyugi. And in the 28th Chaturyugi, Satyuga is over, Treta Yuga is over, Dwapar is over, and now we have Kali Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, 5,200 years have passed. So in this Manvantar, which is the 7th Manvantar, Manuji is Vaivasvat Manu, and Vaivasvat Manu is the same personality as Satyavrat king in the previous Kalp. That is what their story is saying, that O king, Sukhdev ji Maharaj is telling Parikshit ji that the Vansha Vaivasvat Manu is very long. It cannot be exhausted even if spoken for 100 years. Because in one Manvantar there are 71 Chaturyugis, and each Chaturyugi is one Satyug, one Dwapar, one Treta, one Kaliyug. That means 43 lakhs 20,000 years multiplied by 71. So it's so long. So how can we narrate even a fraction of it? That is what is being stated here. And then the description, Marichi is the son of Brahma from the mind, and his son is Rishi Kashyap, who marries Aditi, and his son is Vivaswan, the sun god, and Vivaswan marries Sangya, and their son is Shraddha Dev, who is also called Manu, Vaivasvat Manu, and Shraddha Dev Manuji marries Shraddha, and they desire a son. So Manuji requests school guru sage Vashisht to perform a yajna. So the yajna is conducted for Mitra Dev and Varun Dev. During the yajna, Manu's wife, subsisting on milk, requested one priest conducting the yajna to offer the oblations in such a way that a daughter is born to her. So, looks like the father is desiring a son, the mother is desiring a daughter. So, let's read on what happens in the next slide. So, slide number 2. The priest accordingly complied, and a daughter named Ela was born to Manu. Manu was puzzled and approached his school guru as he was surprised the sacrifice could result in something other than what was desired. The cool guru, who is my grandfather's grandfather, Sukha, Vyash, Parashar, Shakti, Vasishtha, with his yogic powers, perceived what had happened in the yajna. To remedy this, the cool guru extolled and glorified Lord Vishnu with a desire to turn the female Ela into a male. Pleased with his prayer, Sri Hari granted the boon of manhood for Ela. Thus, Ela then transformed into a male named Sudyumna. Once a group of sages, radiant in their splendor, once desired to meet Lord Shiva at the foot of Mount Meru. Mata Parvati, who was having an intimate private moment with Lord Shiva, was highly embarrassed seeing the sages arrive there. The sages were unaffected, but realizing the situation, instantly withdrew to go to the ashram of Nar and Narayan. Sensing Mata Parvati's discomfort and to placate her, Lord Shiv then uttered that any male except me who enters this forest shall be turned into female. It so happened that once Sudyumna, Manu's son, went for hunting with many male attendants and male horses of Saindhwa breed, Sindh based in the forest at the foot of Mount Meru, and coming within the forest, Sudyum with his attendant and horses all got transformed into females. Now, not knowing what to do, all the females continued roaming and living in the forest. Buddha Dev Mercury, son of Chandradev, met the female Ela and fell in love. And after their union, let me read the right. So yes, yes. Shiva then uttered, the male except me. Right. After their marriage, they had a son, Pururva. That's the last line which I couldn't see. So here, let us understand once again that Vaivasvat Manu is the same personality as Satyavrat king from Dravid Desh in the previous Kalp, and then he is born as Vaivasvat Manu, and they attend this yajna. The father is desiring a son, the mother is desiring a daughter. So the daughter Ela is born. So Manuj is surprised that sacrifice could result in something other than what he desired. So his school guru Vashisht was approached, and who is Vashisht? He is the father of Parashar. Parashar is father of Vyas, and Vyas is father of Sukh. So he approaches his grandfather's grandfather, and with his yogic powers, the grandfather Vashisht ji, he perceives everything that has happened. He remedies the situation and glorifies Lord Vishnu, and with a desire to turn Ela into a male. So Ela was transformed into a male named Sudyumna. But then the other story we read that group of sages, they visit Mount Meru, and Mata Parvati was in a private moment with Lord Shiv, and then how they were cursed that whoever enters this forest will turn into a female, and that's how Sudyumna again became female along with everyone else, including the horses. So again, not knowing what to do. All the females continued roaming and living in the forest. Buddhadev, son of Chandradev, made the female Ila and fell in love. So Buddha met Ila, they fell in love, and their union resulted in the son Pururva. Let us read the next. So first of all, we can see the chart here. Son of Vaivasvat Manu and their successors. Vaivasvat Manu has a son Ikshvaku and another son Nabhi, Nabha, Nedista, then Saryati, then Ila. Right. And right. Then thank you. So Ikshvaku, Nabanedista, Saryati, and Ila. These are the four children of Vaivasvat Manu. And actually there could be more also, which is what is depicted here are some. So Ikshvaku's children are Vikukchi and Nimi. Vikukchi is married to Shashad, and that grows into the Ayodhya dynasty, and Nimi is growing into Videha dynasty, that is the dynasty of Janakji. And from Ila and Pururva, the children who are born are Ayu and Amavashu. Amavashu leads to Kanya-Kubj dynasty, a very famous dynasty. And Ayu has 5 children, Nahush, Chhatravrid, Rambha, Raji, and Anena. Now you can ignore Raji's dynasty, Anena's dynasty. Chhatravrid dynasty leads to Kashi dynasty. But what is the most important in this learning is Nahush, who has 2 children, Yati and Yayati. Now Yayati has 5 children, Yadu, Turvashu, Druhyu, Anu, and Puru. So here 2 personalities are very famous. Yadu dynasty, in which Sri Krishna will appear, and then Puru dynasty, which will lead to Kauravas and all. So Yadu has 2 sons, Sahasrajit and Turvashu. Turvashu goes into the Turvashu line, and from Sahasrajit you have Satyajit, then Haihaya and Haihayas, and that leads to Krishna, means Shursen and Krishna in the dynasty. So here you have the lineage of Videha dynasty, Kashi dynasty, Ayodhya dynasty, Punjab dynasty, Kanya-Kubj dynasty. Now we know the history. Let's read the text. So later, Sudyumna Ila meditated on his Kul Guru sage Vashisht. Perceiving her call, the Kul Guru Vashisht with his yogic powers appeared and saw Sudyumna in the female form. Moved to pity, sage Vashisht offered prayers to Lord Shankar. The ever gracious Lord Shankar was pleased with sage Vasisht's prayers, rewarding the Guru's prayers and simultaneously maintaining his own words. Vowed to Uma, Lord Shankar granted manhood to Sudyumna for alternate months. Sudyumna was living in the forest every alternate month, which was not very well accepted in his kingdom. He then had 3 sons, Utkal, Gai, and Vimal. Utkal, Gai, and Vimal, followers of Dharma and ruled in the Deccan region. At the appropriate time, King Sudyumna, ruler of Pratisthan, Prayag, then retired to the forest, handing over his kingdom earth to his eldest son Pururva. With Sudyumna retiring, O King Parikshit, Manu Shraddhadev then had Ikshvaku, Nreg, Sharyati, Dishta, Drusta, Karush, Narishyant, Prushdhara, Nabhag, and Kavi as his 10 sons. So pretty much about the dynasty which we just covered. We will focus on who is Sudyum, how he transforms into Ila, the female. That is story we should remember. Then we should remember in Krishna dynasty, we have Budh, Pururva, Yayati, Yadu. These are the personalities. Let's move to the next slide. So, okay, these were the slides. So now we have the takeaway. Anybody wants to read the takeaway? You can read.
I think Ananya has raised her hand.
That one supreme truth manifests in three ways, as Brahman, Paramatya and Bhagwan. The first, the all-pervading impersonal Brahman, performs no actions and is the object of worship of the Janans. Brahman can be compared to the effulgence seen in the distance by the residents of Dwarika. The aim of the Janins is to attain liberation by merging into this divine effulgence. The second manifestation is Paramatma, or Supreme Soul, who dwells in the heart of every living being and keeps a record of our uncountable actions of innumerable lifetimes. It is He who dispenses the fruits of actions and also notes each and every actions of our present life. He is the object of worship of the yogis. The yogis have a closer experience than the Dhyanins of the same Supreme Being. This is like the shimmering form seen by the residents of Dwarika. The third manifestation bestows grace by descending in his personal form on this earth. The personal form can be experienced with all the senses. This manifestation of God is the one that is most intimately experienced. The worshippers of this manifestation, Bhagwan, are called bhakts or devotees. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to read this?
Shirazi, I think Shirazi raised her hand.
That's okay. Thank you.
Yes.
That one supreme truth manifests in three ways as Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. The first, the all-pervading impersonal Brahma, performs no actions and is the object of the worship of the Jnanis. Brahma can be compared to the effulgence seen in the distance by the residents of Dwarika. The aim of the Jnanis is to attain liberation by merging into this divine effulgence. The second manifestation is Paramatma, or Supreme Soul, who dwells in the heart of every living being and keeps a record of our uncountable actions of innumerable lifetimes. It is He who dispenses the fruits of actions and also notes each and every action of our present life. He is the object of worship of the yogis. The yogis have a closer experience than the jnanis of the same supreme being. This is like the shimmering form seen by the residents of Dwarika. The third manifestation bestows grace by descending in his personal form on this earth. The personal form can be experienced with all the senses. The manifestation of God is the one that is most intimately experienced. The worshippers of this manifestation, Bhagwan, are called Bhakt or devotees. Radhe Radhe.
So much. So now we can take off the display and oh, there is one more. Sorry. So this
Shall
one
I
is
continue?
from,
Sorry.
yeah, let me just read the Sanskrit and then you can read the English. So tapasvibhyodiko yogi jnanibhyopi matodika karmabhyas yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. This is Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, 46th shlok. Then 6th chapter, 47th shlok. Yogi namapi sarvesham madgatentaratmana madgate antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamo matah. Yes, please. You are muted.
Sorry about that. The yogi is superior to the ritualist, one who practices austerities. And the jnani, but even superior to the yogi, is the bhakt. Have I got all the lines there? Am I missing something at the end of?
Please carry on. You have all the
Okay,
lines.
thank you. All three, the yogi, the jnani, and the bhakt, attain the same supreme being. All three are liberated, and all three attain complete fulfillment by experiencing unlimited divine bliss for eternity. Nevertheless, they are known differently based on the proximity of their experience to that same supreme being. It is on this basis that they are referred to as jnanis, yogis, or bhakts. If the bliss experienced by the jnanis is compared to that of seeing a mango, then that of the yogi could be compared to smelling it, and that of the devotee can be compared to the combined bliss of seeing, smelling, and tasting the fruit. Thanks. Radhe Radhe.
So now we can take up the display, if that is the last slide, and we can reflect on what we have learned in today's session. So today's session is very important. It's a milestone. We are into the new canto called Ninth Canto. There are 24 chapters in Ninth Canto. Up to 8 cantos, we have covered so many chapters. We have been fascinated by so many episodes concerning different forms of the Lord and different devotees, the history of Bhagwat Mahapuran, the cosmology, the planetary positions, how the hellish planets are described, etc., etc. And we learned about the lineages of different ones. So it's been a fascinating journey. Now we are going into the details of our current time. We are in the seventh Manvantar. Of the we are into the seventh Manvantar, and in the seventh Manvantar, the 27 Chaturyugis are gone. We are in the 28th Chaturyugi, and the Satyug, Treta, and Dwapar are over. We are into Kalyug. When the Kalyug finishes, another Chaturyugi will start. So, what is very pertinent to note that in every kalp, Sri Krishna appears only once in his full avatar, and that happens in the seventh Manvantar, 28th Chaturyugi, Dwapar. So the Dwapar which passed by just now, that was the time. It is such a rare incident, but we have been so close to that. So we are really so blessed people that Sri Krishna had just appeared in the earthly planet in his full form. In other Dwapar, Sri Krishna also appears, because in 1000 Chaturyugis in one kalp, in one day, Sri Krishna will appear 1000 times. But in all other times, he will appear in his partial form. But the avatar which took place 5002 years ago, 5200 years ago, was a Purna avatar, because Sri Krishna displayed all kinds of Leela, Banshi Leela also, Natwar Vapu, the dancing Leela, etc., etc. So we are so very fortunate to have access to this kind of a intimate association with the pastimes of Sri Krishna. So we will read in this canto King Vavasvat Manu's son, King Sudyum, then other Manus, Prisadra, etc., and the 5 children of Manu. We will read about Maharshi Chavan, Sukanya, King Sharyati, Nabhag, Ambarish, Durvashaji's problem. He tried to mess with Ambrish ji and he got caught, by the wrath of the Lord. Though Durvasha ji himself is such an exalted personality, but the Lord did not tolerate anything against the devotees. Then the description of Ikshwaku Vansh, King Mandhata, and Rishi Shobhri. We will read about King Trishanku and Harishchandraji. We will read about Sagar Charitra, which will lead to the stories how Gangaji has descended. In that, we will read about Bhagirath Charitra and Gangavataran. Then we will go into the Leelas of Lord Sri Ram. That is chapter 10, 11, and 12. Leelas of Sri Ram and the other kings in Ikshwaku Vansh. Then we will read about King Nimi's lineage, Chandravansh, Richik, Jamdagni, Parshuramji. We will read about how Parshuramji decimated the Kshatriyas from the earth, and then we will read about the lineage of Vishwamitra. We will read about Chhatravrid, Raji, different kings. We will read about Yayati and how he left the house, how he got attached to Pururva, how he, Yayati, how he was married to Sarmishta and Devyani, and Yayati is in the Vansh of Chandravansh. Then we learn about King Puru, King Dushyant, and the King Bharat, whose name India is named. Then the description of Bharat Vansh and also the story of King Ranti Dev. Then we will read about Panchal, Kaurab, and Magad Desh, these three kings and lineage. We will read about Anu, Drihu, Turvashu, and Yadu Vansh. And lastly, the 24th chapter, we will read about Vidarbh. These are the various chapters we will read. And the philosophy that we learned, Vadanti Tattva Vidas Tattvam Ajnanam Abhyayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwan Iti Shabdyate. The scholars of the Vedas have stated that there are three forms of God: Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. In Bhagwat Gita, in chapter 15, the Lord is so kind that in one place he has described these three different forms. You go to chapter 15 in Bhagavad Gita, it is the smallest chapter with only 20 shlokas. There are two small chapters in Bhagavad Gita, shloka chapter 12 and chapter 15. Chapter 12 and 15 both have only 20 shlokas. The longest chapter is chapter 18, which has 78 shlokas, and the second longest is chapter 2, which has 72 shlokas. In chapter 15, begin from shloka number 12 and go up to shloka number 20. It is most fascinating. Not that the previous shlokas are less fascinating. The entire 15th chapter is very fascinating. It is about Purushottam Yoga, where the Lord begins by comparing the material world like an inverted banyan tree. Urdhva moolam adha shakham ashwatam prahurabhyayam chandansi yasya parnani yastam veda sa vedavit. There are beautiful shlokas before 12 also. But today's context, we are reading about the three forms of God. Three forms of God, Bhagwan Sri Krishna, are Brahma form, number one. Three shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, talk about it. Shloka number 12, 13, and 14. Yada dityagatam tejo jagad bhashyayate khilam yachandramashi yachagno tattejo viddi mamakam. Chapter 15, shloka number 12, the Lord says, I am the sun and the effulgence of the sun, and the heat and the light of the sun are me. This is the Brahma form of God. If the sun rays are pervading everywhere, and the Lord is saying in this shloka that I am that light and heat, then it becomes very clear that the Lord is present in every particle of this universe in the Brahma form. In the next shloka, he says, Gama Vishyacha Bhutani Dharyami Aham Ojasa Pushnami Chausadhi Sarva Somo Bhutva Rasatmakaha. I enter every living being and I am the cause for nourishing them. So the Lord is providing the ojas, the nourishing power to every living being. He also says in this shloka that I become the moon and I provide the moonshine which fills the juice in the plants and the vegetables. In the 14th shlok, the Lord says, Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam dehamashritah prana pana samayuktah pachami yanyam chaturvidham. The Lord says, I am the fire of digestion in your stomach, Vaishwanar. I digest the four kinds of food which you eat by mixing the pran vayu and the apan vayu and creating that digestion effect by converting the food that you eat into rasa, then rakta, then asthi, then majja, then meda, then dhatu, then the shukra. These are the seven dhatus which are produced by this effect. The four types of food are bhakshya, peya, lehya, choshya. These are the only four kinds of food. Some food you can only lick, like chutney. You cannot eat in any other method, like the honey. They are called lehya. Choshya, some food you can only suck, like the sugar cane. You cannot eat it in any other way. Some food you cannot chew, like the water and the milk you have to drink. And some food you have to chew, masticate. So, bhakshya, peya, lehya, choshya, these are the four types of food which Sri Krishna is saying, I digest. These are the Brahma form because everywhere the Lord is present as fire of digestion, as the ojas, as the moonshine, as the sunshine is there everywhere. This is the Brahma form. Then he talks about the Paramatma form. 15th slok in the same chapter. सर्वस्य चाहम हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्ता स्मृतिर ज्ञान अपोहनम च वेदैश्च सर्वैर अहमेव वेद्यो वेदांत कृद्वेद विदेव चाहम. O Arjun, I am seated in the heart of every living being, including yours. I am the remembrance, I am the forgetfulness, I am all these qualities, and I am the purpose of knowing Vedas. I am the originator of Vedas, and I am the only knower of Vedas. Vedavit, Vedvedya, Vedakrit. He talks about Paramatma form in another shlok. Uttamam, he says, Uttamam Purushatvanyah Paramatmeti Udaharitah Yah Sarvatraya Loke Mam Vibarteya Ishwaraha. This is another Paramatma form because as Paramatma, the Lord has entered our heart. That is called the Chirodakshai Vishnu, and he also resides in the Chir Sagar on Anant Shesh. Mother Lakshmi is pressing his legs. So that is the Paramatma form. Two shlokas. Shloka number 15, shloka number 17. Again in 18 and 19, he talks about his Bhagwan form. He says, Yasmat aksharam titoham akshiradapi chottamaha yato loke ashmi vede yato yasmi loke vede cha prathitaha purushottamah. Beyond these two forms, Paramatma and Brahma, I have another form which is the Bhagwan form. So he's talking about himself. Lord Krishna, I am the Bhagwan form and I'm talking to you, Arjun. In the next slok also he talks about the Purushottam form. Yo mameva sammudho janati purushottamam sa sarva vid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. So you see in a space of 8 shlokas, the Lord talks about his Brahma form. He is there in every particle of the universe. He talks about Paramatma form. He is there in the heart of every living being. And he talks about his Bhagwan form, in which form he has appeared as Sri Krishna. Over to you, Vijay Bhaiya, for the interactions.
Thank you so much, Ria, for explaining about all the details about three forms and also singing the beautiful bhajan in the beginning for the holy festival. So with that, we can open up for any questions or feedbacks or any kind of experience you want to share. I see Himalti has joined today. And or if anybody has any questions related to their spiritual journey or anything, they can raise their hand and unmute themselves and ask. Should Go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Bhaiya.
Yeah.
The bhajan was so beautiful. Thank you for that bhajan, holy bhajan. And the bit about the Bhagwat Gita, chapter 15, all these shlokas, it's so beautiful to see you sing recite them. Absolutely, you memorize, I think, the whole of the Bhagwat Gita at this rate. Thank you. And also to know all these details in the different forms of, the forms of Jnani, Paramatma, Bhagwan, it's absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you very much, Radhe Radhe, because the description that all three are glorious. The karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, the bhaktas, but bhaktas are the supreme. That is why Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Chipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati kaunteya prati janihi name bhakta pranashyati. O Arjun, go and declare to the world that my devotee never perishes. He doesn't say that my jnanis doesn't perish, my karmis doesn't perish, my yogis doesn't perish. He doesn't give that declaration to them. But about bhakta, he says they will never perish. That is his commitment to the bhaktas. That is why devotion is the most glorious. Because the person has surrendered his mind and intellect, the child has surrendered to its mother, so the mother looks after the child. Similarly, Lord being the supreme mother, why will he not look after? That is the sentiment. So no wonder he says, though yogis get a lot of bliss, the Gyanis get a lot of bliss, Gyanis get Brahmanand, yogis get the Atmanand, but bhaktas get the Paramanand and the Premanand. So it is like one is seeing the mango tree, seeing the mango. Another is smelling the mango. But the third is tasting the mango, where you get the pleasure of seeing the mango also, smelling the mango also, and eating the mango also. With that, we come to an end of today's session. Over to Vijay Bhaiya for conclusion.
Yeah, so thank you so much again for joining. We'll proceed with Canto 9 in our subsequent sessions. Please invite others also, and also try to join every Saturday. With that,
With that, we come to an end of this session. Yes, my request is this session was conducted with so much of enthusiasm, and we must tell people that we all await your presence, because that will add to the enthusiasm and the passion. And how ironical that in 7 days, in 24 hours, 1 hour, many of us don't get the time to take out. As Sheila Didi explained, that it is because of the commitment in other devotional sentiments, and that's great. The person is not attending our session, is attending some other session, so that is equally glorious. But those who are not able to spare 1 hour from 7 days and in 24 hours, that where we should know that unless the Lord's grace is with us, it is so difficult to come to these sessions. With that, बोलिए श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की जय, श्रीमद युगल सरकार की जय,
Jai.
जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री
Shri
राधे,
Radhe,
जय जय
Jai
श्री
Shri
राधे.
Radhe.
uh,
Thank you.